Would you rather have 4 fingers or 7 fingers? That's your choice? Alright, come here. Alright, 4K versus 7K. Which is better? Today we will go into each key mode and see the differences between the two. From which one is harder, their histories, their games, accessibility, and everything else. So let's stop wasting your time and get into it. Now, which is harder? Let's start with 4K. It uses your strongest fingers, index and middle, which are the easiest to control. You can move them all you want without any problems. You can do any motion you want with them. Trilling, jacking, vibroing, and everything else is easy to do. But I have seen people use their other fingers too. Like some use their ring and index. And some people even use ring and middle. I honestly don't know how they do it. Like how. 7K on the other hand, it's much harder to control your fingers. With 7K, your rings and thumb get added. The thumb is not that hard to control. Just make sure you learn 7K with the thumb of your dominant hand. Don't make the same mistake I did where I am right-handed and use my left thumb to play, which causes me to lose more stamina on my left hand. Or I think that's just me. Or I don't know, maybe you could do the jackass method and use both thumbs. Anyway, the problem is your ring fingers, which are very hard to control. Because 1, you don't really use that finger as much as the others, so you are not used to it. And 2, if you move it, your middle finger somewhat moves along with it. This is because of tendons. I'm not gonna get into detail, I'm no biologist. Your middle and ring fingers share the same tendon, so they move along with each other somewhat, which makes patterns like these be very hard to hit. How to fix this? Play more. And 7K has another type of keyboard, called the Beatmania controller. It's a weird looking playstyle if you have never seen Beatmania 2 Deluxe gameplay. The first thing that might catch your eye is this DJ disc type thing over here. It's called the turntable. Basically in 2 Deluxe, there's this 8th note on the side that you have to hit by rotating that disc. There are some people who use this playstyle on normal keyboards, which is pretty cool. On this controller, you use both thumbs to press the bottom row buttons, so it doesn't matter if you're a left or right-handed person. Even on the Beatmania controller, there are many different playstyles that I will not go into. Now that's the obvious difference between the two key modes, but very stressed for the 8-minute mark obviously. The difference between 7K and 4K maps is huge. You could even say it's massive. 4K maps get more physical. By that I mean very hard. Some top players can play up to 200 BPM jacks, while in 7K the best player, Dresser, barely scratches 160 jacks. It makes sense, well, because there are more keys to press. 7K is hard because of your finger control. It takes years to master, especially the motion between your ring and middle fingers. Once you get to the higher levels of 7K, finger independency becomes very important. 200 BPM jumps from your hands in 4K might seem normal and average, but in 7K, in the pattern called core stream, it's piss hard because there are more keys to press, and so the density of the notes skyrockets. Anyways, in conclusion, which is harder? None. Both of them are entirely different games and cannot be compared. You cannot compare a 4K score to a 7K score. It's just not comparable. You can say maybe 4K is easier to get into because it's more accessible and uses your strongest fingers, but it still doesn't change the fact they are different games. Stop this fuck-ass discussion. Now let's get into some history. 7K is older than 4K, with the first 7K game being Beatmania 2 Deluxe. We will mainly talk about keyboard games, so DDR will not be mentioned. The first keyboard 4K game was Stepmania in 2001, and that's it, that's all I'm going to talk about with the history section. If we go any deeper, this video will be 9 years long. Now let's get to accessibility, starting with 4K. It is the most accessible. You have tons of amazing games to choose from, not you. So many options, so many maps, and a whole ton of other shit. I also see these random 4K games getting released out of nowhere on Steam for some reason. I don't know why, I just wanted to mention it. There are also tons of maps being uploaded every day on every game. Unlike 7K, where the only truly accessible game is Osu. There are of course other 7K games like Lunatic Grave 2, Beta Roja, The Goat Interlude, and even Eterna has 7K. But each of these games have their own problem. Eterna has no 7K packs, so you kinda have to convert Osu 7K maps to it. There's O2 Jam, but you have to sign your rights away to the Korean government and disable your antivirus to play it. We also had O2 Jam on Steam, but long story short, it was so bad it became Steam's worst rated game. So many bugs, so many glitches, so much dog shit. It doesn't even exist anymore. But yeah, if you want more information on O2 Jam on Steam, so many bugs, so many glitches, so much dog shit. It doesn't even exist anymore. But yeah, if you want more information on O2 Jam on Steam, go watch Tokaku's video on it. Lunatic Wave 2 and Beat Erosion are pissed hard to set up, because finding maps to your skill level is hard, because you cannot preview the file before downloading it. And you cannot rely on the star rating system, no. You guys know how dogshit it is. And you have to individually download each and every single damn map. Let's say you want to download 100 maps. That's 100 clicks, not including shifting around the website looking for the maps. And you won't even know if those maps are around your skill level. If only there was a game that lets you download a lot of maps with a few clicks. But yeah, the best advice I can give is those BMS and O2 Jam converts. You guys can go download those. Just know they are not your conventional OSU maps. Anyways, the biggest thing that separates 7K from 4K is that not everyone can play it. Not because they are bad or anything, but because of N key rollover on keyboards. Basically, not every keyboard can press up to 7 keys at once. So stuff like this are literally impossible to hit. But of course, for 4K there's no problem. You can get an office keyboard or even your laptop keyboard and you are able to press up to 4 keys fine. So this is a very big wall for 7K's popularity. Now let's get to skins. In 4K there are a wide variety of skins used. Circles, bars, diamonds, arrows, and even some weird stuff. But in 7K, the most widely used type of skin is bars. Balls, arrows, whatever else are also used, but they are not as popular as bars. Probably because of BMS and O2 Jam, because those games have by default a bar skin. And so people just got used to those. Anyways, let's talk about the communities now. There's a massive difference in numbers obviously. 4K tops 7K by a fuck ton. Most of the most popular players are from 4K. Miyuka, Saragi, Boji. Boji is kind of a special case here. He plays 7K and also plays 4K, so he's known in both communities. And for 7K we have lots of iconic names like Jackass, Dressers, Jihli, and many more. But you can say these guys are mostly popular because they hold or held the #1 spot in the leaderboard. Except for maybe Jackass, but that's because he's like the GOAT in any rhythm game he touches. So he's a special case here. There are lots of OSU players that look at 7K as just the key mode that gets you lots of PP, which is kinda sad. The star rating and PP system are extreme dog shit, and it just doesn't make sense that there's an overall leaderboard. 4K, 7K, and every other key mode are very different from each other, so it doesn't make sense to put them all into one leaderboard. But again, the OSU team doesn't care shit about any other mode other than standard. So what are we expecting? Alright, but Osumania is not the only 7K game there is that 7K players play. We mentioned Eterna, Interlude, Quaver, but we also mentioned O2 Jam and BMS. Those are the two other 7K games that 7K players play. For O2 Jam, there are many top players like Windies, which you guys might know for mass banning people on stream. You can check out this video to know what happened. There's also Chioik, or you guys might know him as Jip. For BMS, we have Rack, KKM, Monster, YS, and Nisu. And BMS and O2 Jam are very important. Pretty much 99% of the Osumania 7K top players come from those games. Jackass, Dresser, Botanic, and many of them come to Osu and get like top 10 within one session, which is mind-blowing to watch. Now let's get to the tournament scene. Most of the popular tournaments are mostly 4K. MWC, 4-digit MWC, and the other ones are very popular. But the most popular 7K tournament is MWC. They have enough players every year for it. The reason I say this is because back in 2020 and 2021, it didn't get hosted because the hosts were pessimistic about the player count not being enough for the tournament. But that's not really an issue anymore. Anyways, let's get into the topic of races. Yeah, most of you guys probably know that 7K is filled with Asians. Lots of Asians. Why is this? Well, it's because, of course, of O2 Jam and BMS. These games were released there at first, mostly in Japan and Korea. And they spread to the other countries. That's why we have so many Asians in 7K. And in 4K, of course, we have lots of Asians, but it's more diverse. There are a lot of players from each continent. Probably because the 4K games are way more accessible and easy to set up. Alright, that was 4K versus 7K. Which side are you on? Or are you an outcast? Anyways, thank you for watching, and big thanks to Keiko or Merlin for helping a lot with the video by being in VC with me and providing lots of information on the 7K stuff. And also Underjoy and Dealer of Melons for providing lots of information. And to everyone else who helped with the video. Their links are in the description. And that's it. Like and subscribe and bye.